The following is a podcast from a qualified senior care provider heard on the Answers for Elders radio show.
And welcome everyone back to Answers for Elders radio network. And we're here again in our final segment today and during this hour on this Mother's Day weekend. And we are very blessed to have Rebecca Bowman from SASH Services with me as we've been talking about the perspectives of adult child versus senior in when it comes time to letting go of their home. And it's a very emotional time, but I have a feeling you've probably saved the most emotional part for last, Rebecca. I just know you.
And it's so interesting that it's on Mother's Day because, we're talking about adult children parting with money to do something for mom this weekend. So what we want to finish up on with this final segment is talking about the different perspectives between mom or dad and the adult children when it comes to how money should be spent, money should be spent. And gosh, I know you have seen this, Suzanne, in your years of experience in elder care. Money does things to families, and it's not usually very good. And it's when people come in with an agenda for what they want to see happen with mom or dad's money. And we have these different perspectives. So the adult child, if we'll start with the adult child's perspective, and then we'll go to mom or dad's perspective. A lot of adult children that I talk to are very worried about mom's money or dad's money lasting long enough for their care. They are very worried about that.
Yeah.
They're worried about being put in the situation where I think you might have experienced this and other people I've talked to where they're going, am I going to have to mortgage my house to pay for mom's care in 5 years when her funds have run out? Am I going to have to retire early? They're worried about, unless mom or dad has set up a really nice nest egg, that there's no way they can outlive this nest egg. Money's a big concern because the cost of care is so high. And so someone can sell their home and actually burn through all of the money from the sale of their home in 2 to 3 to 4 years. Easily. That's unfathomable. You spend 50 years paying it off and living there, and then you spend it in 2 to 3 years of care.
I know, isn't that crazy?
And so every time bills arrive, adult children are worried, or they're not wanting mom or dad to sell the home because they want that home to be there for them when mom or dad pass away. And meanwhile, the other perspective is what is best for mom in her situation right now.
Correct.
She's alone in the home. She doesn't get to see her friend. She's huddled in the kitchen and living room in this tiny little space she lives in.
Right.
She needs social activity. She needs care on a regular basis. She needs people to check on her. And the home needs to be sold to do that. And it's really hard for those two perspectives to come aligned often, right? And that's what you often see as well.
Yeah. And I think that the thing that's really hard about it is that the adult children often don't fully understand the needs of our care plan of a senior.
Right.
How many times do we hear, oh, I know mom and dad are, they're fine. They're still at home, and they don't go anywhere anyway. But, I talk to them, a couple times a month, and, they seem fine to me. When they may not be, and you may not understand, like maybe there's all kinds of other situations where a house becomes too much. And therein lies what we talk about. I know even with the pandemic, there's so much in the way of how our seniors have declined in health. And just because of the isolation factor, that they're not taking care of themselves, they're not doing their medications properly and all those things. So when I talk to a senior, oftentimes they'll say, well, I told my children they would inherit this house, so I can't leave. And I'm going like, well, therein lies the challenge. Sometimes there's a senior's sense of duty or promise, their word, their integrity comes before their own care needs. And on the other hand, the family saying, "Oh yeah, well this is how it's going to be," because they just assume, right? And really, they're not taking the most important factor into consideration and putting it as a priority. That's what I'm seeing.
Exactly. And when I'm sitting in those living rooms, Suzanne, with the senior and their family, I'm talking to the senior. I'm not talking to their family. The senior
Right.
is my client. This is their home. This is their money. This is their equity. This
Right.
is, and then that will be spent the way that they want and the way
Right.
that they need. And so no matter how many, I've sat in a dining room, Suzanne, where I had 11 family members around me, all
Wow.
these kids and their spouses, and everybody's got a different agenda for money and the home and what should happen to mom and dad. And
Mhm.
it's very easy for me to get through the clutter because I'm focused on who is the senior who owns the home. They are the ones who've paid the property taxes for 30 years. They're the ones who have paid the mortgage. They're the ones who have
Right.
paid. This is their money. They need to use it for them, for their
Absolutely.
care. And if need be, to get a community that allows them to bring a dog, even if it's more expensive, to get help, to have a quality of life, to get a new
That's correct.
recliner when they move in. I'm not saying blow through the money. We have to be wise with it, but it's theirs. It's
Correct.
their money and they need to use it for themselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
And sometimes adult children really struggle with this because they go, well, why would we spend X on Y and why would we do this for that? And when we should be doing this, and it's like, well, maybe they want to splurge a little bit on this. We don't know. We don't know. So let's let them use their money the way that they want to. And if it
That's
runs out,
correct.
it runs out.
And
And
here's that's the beauty. And the other thing that since we're talking about money, um, those are questions that you need to ask a senior living community when you're moving in. Is the big $50,000 question is what happens if my mom runs out of money? Because
yes,
I think a lot of times people think, you're talking about I have 2 years left. Well, what if mom lives 5 years, right?
right. Or 10 or
Or
15.
10, right? So we have to understand that there has to be a process. And is this the right fit? I didn't ask that question when I moved my mom into to senior living. And what ended up happening is through that process, I had to end up moving her again to another community, which was harder on her and more expensive because then we had to hire movers again. We had to do all these things and we had to renegotiate, obviously, at higher rent, right? And then again, when we moved her into a 1 bedroom thinking, oh, she'll be fine. Well, then she ran out of money because her care needs got so high. So guess what happened? We had to move her again
Into a
to
studio.
a studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the whole process is that those things should be avoided if you
Yes.
ask the right questions. And asking that right question is if mom only had, you think mom's got, 400 or 500,000, you think it's going to be fine. Well, you think about if mom has care needs or Alzheimer's or dementia, guess what's going to happen? Mom
Right.
likely will run out of money.
Right. And what I
That's how crazy it
encourage,
is.
it is crazy. And what I encourage families to do, and I'm not saying only the adult children should do this
Mhm.
or only the seniors, as a family, they should do the math. I
Yes.
can't believe how many times I sit in living rooms and I say, okay, who has done the math? How much does she need to make from her home sale? How
Correct.
long, because you're deciding, can I afford $6,000 a month of care or
Mhm.
$2,000 a month of
And a
care?
lot of seniors have reverse mortgages on their homes.
Right. And so I have actually pulled a pad of paper out, Suzanne, in my very, you know, um,
Yeah.
informal capacity where I just get my calculator out and I say, okay, let's do the math. If no one has done the math, someone needs to. Those
Yes.
provide black and white answers about what your options are, about what you
Right.
can do, and so forth. So just what you said, ask the hard questions when
Mhm.
you're going and interviewing these communities and you're figuring it out. Do ask the hard questions and sit down and do the math together.
Right.
And that provides clarity
Right. And
about
it
the options
and
ahead.
understand that if you choose to move into a community that is private pay only that will not accept Medicaid even after a few years, um that's a consideration. Is it the right decision to move there? And that is, I guess, one of the things that I look at, in the big pictures. How do you make sure that you're doing the right thing by your loved one? And it's really getting back to that whole piece of, asking the hard questions, doing the math, making sure that their needs come first. And I think that's
Exactly.
the thing that we need to
Having the kind language
Yeah.
with each other, lots of listening and validating and using empathy and compassion, where you're navigating all these difficult decisions and a course of action that sometimes you have to change in midstream. Listen,
Yeah.
support, be kind, be supportive as you go through it. And whenever you feel like you're getting off track, go back to the North Star of what are our goals here.
Yep.
Our goals are to get you a good price for your home and to find an affordable place for you to live comfortably with your pet and the things that are important
And the
to
best
you,
care possible.
and the best care possible. Who
Mhm.
gets the spoon collection doesn't matter in the middle of that.
No, it doesn't.
Who's going to show up for this or that specific thing? Come back to the North Star, stay focused on the goals, be good to each other, and really look at everything through your aging parents' perspective. And that really helps.
Well, and I'm going to just add one final close with this, and that is recognize that every member in the family is going to have emotional issues over this.
Yes.
And you may have challenges with a sibling over some things. That be gentle with each other.
Yes.
Everybody is in a process, especially if your parent is the matriarch or the patriarch of the family. It can affect the whole, foundational makeup of a family. So Rebecca, how do we reach you?
Website is sashservices.com, and we also have a full service brokerage, sashrealty.com. And thank you, Suzanne, for having me on your show. As always, just really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, and to each and every one of you who are listening, make sure you check out Rebecca's all of her podcasts on answersforelders.com. We're also on iTunes, on Spotify, on Google, on Stitcher, Deezer, you name it. So we are so thrilled to have you on our show again. And Rebecca, and to each and every one of you, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
And certainly know that we're all thinking about you and sending you lots of love and gratitude for all that you do for us and the memories that you've created. And to each and every one of you who are listening today, thanks for joining us, and be good to each other.
Answers for Elders radio show with Suzanne Newman hopes you found this podcast useful in your journey of navigating senior care. Check out more podcasts like this to help you find qualified senior care experts in areas of financial, legal, health and wellness, and living options. Learn about our radio show, receive promotional discounts, and meet our experts by clicking on the banner to join the Senior Advocate Network at AnswersForEldersRadio.com. Now there is one place to find the Answers for Elders.